Okay guys, we're back today. Y'all have any questions about the stuff we covered on Monday? Those that watched it. No?
I will too.
How was the game?
The game was awesome. The game was good. Guys, we covered a lot of stuff on Monday. Important stuff. Speakers are really important. You know, a lot of the stuff that we're covering now is going to be important. Everything is probably equally as important. So I really need you guys working on that stuff. Did y'all work on it at all? Honestly?
I did.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
I just watched the Monday one.
Okay. No? Okay. You need to start using it. Prefixes, suffixes, braces and dictionaries, speakers. I mean, we covered a lot of stuff, a lot, okay?
So you wanted to do your turn?
Oh yeah.
What you're saying? That,
Yeah.
Okay.
We may not, you know, sometimes we do it in class, sometimes we don't, just depending on how much time, you know, we have or whatever, but you really need to do those your turns, okay? And mess with that stuff, because it allows you to mess with it inside of the lesson, so this way if you mess something up, it's not that big of a deal. You just go in and re-plug in the lesson.
Like on the videos that you, I know you put your cursor almost like on here or something, and when I try to do it at home, it doesn't populate.
Why? Just at home? Do it now.
Here. I don't know about here if I can bring up that video, but at home, yes.
That sounds made up. But
No, it's not made up.
you know what, we're gonna try it right now then. And if
Okay.
it works,
Because I don't know what you
you may
click.
get smacked.
Let me move on.
Yeah.
No. Okay, so there I am. So you put the thing on here, right?
Yeah.
So, and then Control Alt V, Alt V. So I do my all. Oh, you see? It didn't do that too. I'm serious. I'm serious.
You know, it's really amazing, guys, when you follow directions, how things just kind of fall into place. It's crazy, crazy. Yeah. You're not smacking on Doritos or something, but
Yes, I didn't bring no more Doritos in here.
yeah, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, watch those videos again if you need to.
Because I don't need to be connected to the internet, right?
No,
See, and I was not connected.
no. So,
I'll try it again at home today.
yeah. Yeah, try that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So go back and watch those videos. If you don't watch another video, watch the one on speakers.
Speakers?
Really important. That speakers is important, and braces. Okay? Okay. Today we're going to talk about conflicts. All right? And there's 4 different kinds of conflicts. There's the trouble scan, scan to all conflicts, scan, unresolved conflicts, and then kind of the fill in the blanks. Okay? So they're going to talk about those. Click here, Alt V. Weird.
Eclipse is famous for intelligent conflict resolution. Let's see how it works. Here, the word table is an untranslate, although it's been intelligently guessed. I'll define it as a conflict. A backslash will separate each conflict choice from the next. I'll also include a command that tells the system that if a number follows, the number should be in numeral form, not written form. This conflict will go in my main dictionary. This will actually be 2 conflicts back to back. Your is a conflict that was resolved by the computer. Here, choice 1 is correct. Here you see that you can have different colors to display the conflicts that you yourself have picked, as opposed to those that the computer has picked and those that have yet to be resolved. You also notice that the dictionary indicates that Eclipse Artificial Intelligence has learned 1 rule for resolving this conflict in the future. Each time you select a conflict choice, Eclipse can learn from your editing. The more you use it, the smarter it gets. You can always select a different conflict choice if necessary. The number for each choice is displayed in the status bar at the lower left of your screen. But you can also right-click on a conflict to see its choices and pick the one that is correct.
Got it? I didn't stop because we've already seen this video, okay? We've already seen it, okay? So that's why I really didn't stop. Do you guys have any questions about it? You really should.
Oh, never mind.
What?
It's not about this, it's about something like last class.
About what?
About last class?
Yeah.
Like Monday, but never mind.
What?
Okay, well,
Never mind. All right, well,
so if you're taking like a deposition and like say you dropped, and like they're like, okay, go back and read that, and you drop it though, like, what do you do? Does that make sense?
yeah.
Like,
Just start praying.
have you ever dropped though, or have you like?
I mean, you know, I'm not going to sit here and say that it doesn't happen. I mean, you know, you're licensed at 95%. You know, so I mean, there's a degree for human error. You know, albeit small, but I mean, it does happen. You know, so hopefully it's a question that they just asked, and you can kind of remember, you know, kind of what the context was or whatever, and kind of, you know, go back and fill it in with what, you know, maybe it wasn't something big, you know, or whatever. But I mean, if you had like a 10-word drop, you know, it might get a little scary, you know. But if you dropped right there, I mean, you know, or they were going real fast, or you were carrying something, you can always ask them to stop or slow down, repeat it, you know, stuff like that. So.
They have lots of my dude just told me that they have to pay more for real time or something. Or that's not true. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
they do
can-
pay more for real time.
Oh, okay. So then if they're doing real time, then they can ask you to read back whenever they want.
I mean, they have the screen right there, so they really don't need to, you know, but I mean, they may ask you to. You know, it just all depends. I mean, I've seen crazier things with attorneys, so this kind of all depends on how they feel that day, you know, in a deposition. A lot of times, you know, like my judge will say, you know what, if you don't remember the question, then it probably wasn't that important, so ask another question, you know. Or, I mean, it kind of seems like, you know, he wasn't paying attention or whatever, and he'll read the question back. He'll tell them the question. So, I mean, it just all depends. And then there's judges that are like, well, read it back, you know. So it just all depends on who the judge is. That answer it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. You know, they show you different conflicts or whatever. If you have this one, and I think we talked about it on the first day, you might want to look into that auto mechanic class, okay? You shouldn't have that. There's no way with the theory that you learn that you should have that conflict right there. Those are three totally different ways of writing three totally different words that have the same sounding. They sound the same, that's it. They're there and there. You know, but three totally different meanings, totally. So, I mean, there's no way that you, does anybody write them the same? Good. You may get smacked with this, I don't know. But, I mean, just absolutely no reason for it to happen, okay? But if you do, then that's what they're saying. That's a conflict, and that's the way you kind of correct them. So one thing right here, each time that you resolve a conflict, Eclipse is learning grammar, not just memorizing phrases, okay? So Eclipse can learn a large number of grammar rules for each conflict in your main dictionary. So if you're just typing it in, it's not learning anything, okay? And maybe you dropped it, no big deal. Put it in there. You typed it in. It didn't learn anything. But every time that you fix a conflict or something like that, it's learning what you're doing, okay? So it's learning to adapt to your writing and, you know, the way that you want it set up. Does that make sense? Okay. Another important thing right here. Conflict entries only resolve if they are in your main dictionary. Okay? So a job dictionary should not contain conflicts. So it's not going to be in your job dictionary. Okay?
Here's an important tip concerning Eclipse Artificial Intelligence. It only learns new rules when you place your cursor on a conflict and pick the correct choice. If instead you just place your cursor on a conflict and just type new text, Eclipse learns nothing. In other words, Eclipse can learn when you pick a conflict, but not when you type over it. Also, you should make your first conflict choice the more likely one. Then, in the Translate section of your user settings, you'll be able to ask Eclipse to pick the first choice when it otherwise would not know how to resolve a conflict. Sometimes a conflict will occur in an exceptional context, and you'll want to pick a conflict choice but not teach a context rule. If so, just hold down the Shift key and press the conflict choice number. That will take care of the exception without affecting what the artificial intelligence has learned. Much more could be said about conflicts, but this is the subject of a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial that includes a conflicts kit with dictionaries that contain hundreds of entries that have already learned how to resolve beautifully. So this is a great way to take full advantage of Eclipse translation magic.
Got it? Kind of some of the stuff that we've gone over too, okay?
Let's see how to define slop strokes for speaker and conflict entries in your dictionary. Here's an untranslate. This steno is not defined in my dictionary. I was trying to write the steno NUBS. Instead, I wrote NUBZ. I could define this as a new conflict in my dictionary, but this conflict would have to begin learning context rules from scratch. In other words, I'd like my new conflict to resolve as well as the older conflict that's been in my dictionary for a while. Here's how to define a slop stroke. At the globaling dialog, you can press Ctrl-E to open the special entries list. Then press the End key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. When the steno entry dialog opens, use your computer keyboard to type the letters of the steno that you were trying to write. In other words, the steno that belongs to your master stroke, and press Enter or OK. This will go in my main dictionary. When I pick conflict choice 1 here, if this is a new context rule that Eclipse did not know before, it will be added to the artificial intelligence for the conflict entry that is my master entry.
Do you understand what it's telling you there? So if you have a slop stroke and you did it once, more than likely you're probably going to do it again. Okay? You know, everybody has weak fingers, okay? I mean, and these are usually them.
So a slop stroke is basically when you just slip over?
You know, and maybe you hit it correct. You know, and you were trying to type NUBS and you tried NUBZ. Holy cow. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense because you got to go way over to do the Z. So, but they're just trying to give you an example of it. Okay. So if you did it once, you're probably going to do it again. Okay, and that's what they're saying on how to define it and what you want it defined as the real thing as opposed to the slop stroke. Okay? Y'all got it? You understand it? Yeah?
Yeah.
Yes.
So slouch strokes point to your master entry. Slouch stroke entries are primarily designed to help conflict resolution, but they can also help with speakers. So you might have one speaker entry and a large number.
So you see what they're trying to do here? You see how many different ways that you can write court reporter? You know, when you're doing court, and you know, you're doing, you know, it's not court, you know, because court is all of the strokes. So it's all four on this side, all four on that side, pushed together is the court, is the main court. This K-R-O-E-R-T twice is like court reporter, okay? Is that your brief for court reporter? Is that y'all's? What is it?
I haven't done that.
We're not there yet. We don't know. I
It's
can
not
make one
twice.
up.
Well, I mean, what's your stroke for court reporter? K-R-O-E-R-T? Okay. So twice, is that right?
Yeah.
K-R-O-E-R-T?
Yeah.
K-R-O-E-R-T, yeah. Just said it kind of fast, whatever. But it's C. I mean,
The C, yeah, like
KR is C. So, but, I mean, it all depends on how you put it, how you want it to be put, whatever. So it could still be KR. But, you see how many different ways you can write it? I mean, it's crazy. You leave one letter off, and I mean, there's
Yeah.
literally hundreds of ways you can write it now. Okay? Well, you don't really need to define it like that every time. Okay? To mean blah, blah, blah. You just put it in as this. Is it making sense? Because you can think about, I'm telling you, with 16 letters that you're using for the court, think of how many different ways you can mess that up by leaving one letter off every time. And how many different ways you can do it. Thousands probably. Literally, if you think about it. Okay, so it's a lot. So you're going to have a bunch of different entries in there for the court and for your different speakers. Okay?
So write whatever we want as long as we define it.
As long as you define it correct. And if you did it once, I mean, unless it's just a complete, I don't even know what I was thinking there. You know, like you're trying to do, you know, like one of the speakers that they give you is SNOO. S-N-A-O. SNOO, and they call it screw. So it's S-K-W-R-A-O. So in school they taught us that SNOO and screw, you know, are your two speakers. I don't use those. Okay? Mine are top bank. So S-T, what is it, P-H, S-T-P-H period, and then S-K-W-R, comma, and then S-T-P-H, comma, and then S-K-W-R period. So top, bottom, top, bottom, bottom, top. Does that make sense?
What do you use that for?
For my speakers.
Oh.
Those are my speakers. Okay? But you have to be careful because, like, the way that I use it, it's just easy for me because in the court that I was coming in, I mean, there's always at least 4 attorneys. One for the state, one for the children, one for mom, and at least one for dad. And if there's more dads, then you go to the black, big, red thing, remember? So there's at least 4. Now in a deposition, and let's just say you you never intend on doing court ever. You know what? It's not for me. I don't want to do it. Hopefully they never send me. Whatever. And you just want to do depositions the rest of your court reporting life. Okay. Then probably all you're going to need is 2. Maybe 3. Maybe 4. I'd say 4 at the most. You know? I don't know that I ever took a deposition where there was more than 4, but I mean, I'm sure it could happen. But, okay.
Okay, so basically you're saying that your top strokes, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, but probably you're defining them 1, 2, and 3, and 4 for your speakers?
It's 1 is top,
Okay,
both hands.
okay.
Lower is 2. Top lower is 3. Lower top is 4. So I'm going to get into it more as we get into speakers. when we do the in-depth, because this is kind of like the beginning. So when they were talking about speakers, it just kind of goes through how to define speakers or whatever. When we get into the in-depth one of everything, that's when it really starts getting technical. Okay.
So what they're saying like here is you don't define the slop strokes as the word, you define it as the steno. I'm confused. I don't know what this is showing.
You define it as the stroke that it should be. Okay? So the artificial intelligence already kind of knows what you've been doing, so it doesn't have to learn new things. You want it to do what it does when you use the original stroke. Does that make sense? Let me rewind it. I'll rewind it a little bit.
So slope strokes is just meant for you to
slope strokes.
slop strokes.
Is
Pardon.
that similar to slop?
Oh,
stroke?
yes, slop strokes is basically
cousin.
like
It's a
a
cousin
bank
too.
of wrong strokes.
Yeah.
And you can just be like, look, remember how I did it wrong last time? It's wrong again, but it all means this.
Yeah.
So those are all meaning the same, and it's
Yeah.
gonna be the same entry.
And it is.
That's what that is.
It's the same entry.
So you just label it as
Yeah,
It's
you
no
just keep
different.
adding
That's
it
what's
to
correct.
the incorrect ones. It's like, I know it's incorrect, but it still means that, and it gets you. It
Yeah.
gets you.
okay.
So
That's
you
what
just
that is.
define it as a correct thing, what you want it to be, what should be correct when you stroke it every time, even though it's like this. So even though you're typing it like this, Kroerlt, and then Kroert means this, equals the text. You see what I'm saying?
I'm sorry.
You want it to equal what it's supposed to be. Not, okay, I messed up, it's that, now I'll put it as that. Because now when you just define it as that, now it has to learn all over again like it's a new speaker, because it thinks it's a new speaker because you put one extra letter.
So when you global the slop stroke, you're going to put the steno for what it was supposed to be.
For what it was supposed to
You
be.
don't put the word that it actually is.
But you have to go into that special entry of the slop stroke.
Okay.
Because if you don't, and you just define it, now you're just going to define it, now it's like it's a new speaker.
It's like a new app for drunk texting. Get it?
Yeah, now I got it, yeah.
Go sit in that.
What?
God almighty. That. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm going to go back and play it again and kind of, I'll stop it periodically. Guys, if you don't get it, tell me. The whole reason of me asking you isn't for me to stand up here so that I can lose my voice just a little bit more with each word I'm saying. I'm asking you for a reason. If you don't get it, don't be scared. Don't be scared to say, I don't get it. Just explain it more, because if you don't get it, somebody else probably doesn't get it either, and they're just afraid to speak up too. But if you tell me yes, this, nobody ever says anything, then I'm just going to assume that you know what we're doing. So if you don't tell me, then I don't know. Okay? I ask you for a reason. Don't be scared. I mean, guys, the dumbest question is the one not asked. Okay? So don't be scared to ask questions. I'm still going to make fun of you, but it is what it is. We're going to get past that.
Wait,
Okay?
so this isn't basket weaving?
No. You need to go to auto mechanic school. Okay? I'm going to rewind it. Play it again, okay? Pay attention.
Visual skating.
Here's how to define a slop stroke. At the globaling dialog, you can press Ctrl-E to open the special entries list. Then press the End key. Slop stroke is at the end of the list. When
So you see what it's doing? So what they did was, it's supposed to be NUBS for numbers, but they stroked NUBZ. Well, it's a slop stroke. Okay, no big deal. How do you open the special entries? Control-E. Opens up the special entries, and you go down to the bottom for
Slop stroke.
or slope strokes.
Blah.
Okay? So it's going to bring you to that, to the slope strokes.
the steno entry dialog opens, use your computer keyboard to type the letters of the steno that you were trying to write.
So now you want to put it the way that it should be correctly. Got it? Katie?
So you use this if you keep doing the same mistake? Is that what you use?
Well, if you did it once, you're probably going to do it again. So if you think you're probably going to do it again, or maybe you were just going so fast, you just accidentally hit it. You don't even know how you hit it. And it's like, I'm never going to do that again. I don't even know what I was doing.
Yeah.
And you don't do it again, and you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to put it in there. Okay, no big deal. Well, about 2 days later, you do it again. And it's like, you know what? Now I'm starting to see a little pattern of what I'm doing. I don't know why I'm hitting the Z, but it happens. So if you've done it a couple of times, more than likely you're going to do it again. Okay, now you know what? Now I need to put it in my dictionary because now I'm starting to see a little pattern of what I'm doing. Okay? So this is where you would do it. You have me so far up to this point? If not, I'll rewind it and I'll do it again and I'll stop it.
Or no, like, yeah.
Okay, so this is what you're trying to do. That's your slop stroke. You global it, which is
G.
G. You go to special entries, which is
S S S S S.
Control E.
Control E, and then
S S S S.
till you get to the bottom of slop stroke. Put it in. Now it's going to open this thing because it's asking you, well, what should it have been? Not the global, remember? The global box of what's the English? Not that anymore. It's asking you what the steno is. What's a correct steno then? If this is a slop stroke, what's the real stroke? What's the correct stroke? It's NUBS. Okay.
In other words, the steno that belongs to your master stroke, and press enter or OK. This will go in my main dictionary. When I pick conflict choice,
So what you're doing is you're defining the stroke now. You're defining the stroke to the stroke that it should be, and it already knows through the artificial intelligence what NUBS is because that's in your main. Does that make sense? So that's what it's doing when you do a slop stroke. But if you just put it in there every time, now it's going to have to learn all over again through the artificial intelligence because it just thinks it's a new entry. So all of the entries that you had for NUBS, which may have been 700 times that the artificial intelligence figured it out and did it, now because you do NUBZ, now you're at 1. And then 2 next time you use it, then 3 instead of, and you may have to pick from a conflict that it brings up because the artificial intelligence can't figure it out because it has no idea what you did. Does that make sense? Okay. All right.
1 here. If this is a new context rule that Eclipse did not know before, it will be added to the artificial intelligence for the conflict entry that is my master entry. So slop strokes point to your master entry. Slop stroke entries are primarily designed to help conflict resolution, but they can also help with speakers. So you might have one speaker entry and a large number of slop stroke entries. So if you changed the text for the master entry, you would not have to change any of the slop stroke entries.
You see what it's telling you? So you could have literally 100 entries on court report if you're doing court, every time. If you put it in and define it as the court reporter, because that's what the English is, now it's just defining it as a brand new speaker. Like you just put in court reporter for the first time. Instead of using the artificial intelligence because you've already done it and you do it correctly every time, but this time you just drag that L and it's like, you know what, I'm starting to feel like I'm dragging that right hand a little bit, and now I'm dragging the L. Put it in your dictionary, but put it in there as a slop stroke. Got it?
So using slop stroke is basically your clip saying
English?
slop stroke.
Oh, okay. You said it right.
I
That's
said it right.
All right.
It's basically your clip saying, "Don't worry, guy. I know you said it wrong a million times. I understand what you said. I'm not gonna make you take your test again."
That's exactly it.
Cool. Did
So
everyone
if you-
get that?
so-
You're welcome.
So if you did it correct, and if you did it one time, you're probably gonna do it again. Is what they're saying, and it's the artificial intelligence saying, you know what? I do have your back. I know what you're talking about when you stroke this. I got it. I got it from here, and I know that it's the court reporter as a speaker. Got it?
That's the victim for.
You still got that deer in the headlights look.
Well, the thing is that I understand what you're saying, but I'm thinking of an instance where I'm a stroke child,
Yeah.
so I did KHILD, and it switched it to which I would every single time.
Which I would.
Which is KH is which, and then I, and then final LD is would.
No, you have to go to your dictionary and fix your brief for
Because
that
I missed
then.
the long I. I'm
Well,
trying to
is
do
that
it.
a brief that you use?
No.
Which I would?
I mean, not personally, no. So every
Is it
time,
one that you would use? Does
Which-
it sound good?
I mean, I guess I don't know. Do they use it in court?
Which I would. I mean, I don't know.
So.
You know, and if
it
it's
changes
not,
every time, and you know, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, that sounds okay.
yeah,
And it doesn't even go there.
yeah.
So that's why I. So
But that's
like, we just
the
define
correct
our
stroke
slots.
for which I would. I don't use it. You don't use it.
So she can correct it, can't she, on
Yeah.
the dictionary?
That's where you would correct it here in the slop stroke. Of you know what? Next time I do KHILD, I want it to be child because I never use which I would. So that's where you would define it. So if you did it once, more than likely you're going to do it again. Have you done it again?
Well, I don't know.
Have you noticed?
Because I haven't. It was a dictation to where
Yeah.
the child. So I kept doing it because I'm trying to, you know, just go faster or I forgot
Yeah.
the long I, whatever.
Yeah.
And it kept going back to which I would.
So walk me through it. How would you do it?
Global.
And if you say we'll do it correct,
We're
you're gonna get
enter
smacked
the
with the
right
stick.
way.
Yeah. Don't tell me that.
So Control E.
No.
No, for
Before
special
that.
entries, global.
Before that. Global. Global.
I said global.
Hey, why are you yelling? You're
So
one step ahead. I
global.
didn't hear that. So global,
And then Control E.
Control E,
And then you go all the way to the bottom for slop stroke.
slop stroke,
And then you enter your steno.
steno for
The slop that you made.
no
To,
for the
For the correct one.
Correct.
oh, okay.
So now it would be KHAOILD.
Yeah.
That would be your correct. Put it in your main.
Oh yeah, because
Now it's correct. Now it's correct. Got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? Guys, this is good stuff right here, okay? If you do it right. You have to do it right.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
This makes total sense. I totally get it. But once it's in your dictionary, I don't see why it needs artificial intelligence because it knows every time you hit that word, it doesn't sometimes change it, it always changes it.
It will now.
So why is artificial intelligence even important for this?
Because usually it can figure it out. Most of the time it can figure it out. But when it can't, it's going to leave it in the steno, and over here in Auto Magic, it's going to give you, did you mean child? Did you mean which I would?
Okay.
Did you mean which I could? It's
And
going to give
child
you a
was
bunch of
never
different.
An option.
What's that?
Child was never an option on the side words,
Really?
by the way. Yeah.
Are you sure?
I'm positive.
Wow. That surprises me because that's pretty close. You know, and usually it can figure it out. You know, I don't know. I mean, the only thing that I can think of is maybe you haven't stroked child a whole lot of times. So maybe it doesn't know, the artificial intelligence hasn't worked as much But it really should have been, I'm really surprised that it wasn't one of your choices. Out of 10 choices, there's usually about 8 or 10 choices on the Auto Magic, so I'm real surprised that that wasn't one of them. But,
Really?
huh?
Not, like, when I do it, sometimes I'm doing like 3 choices of different words.
Really? I don't know. It may be that you just haven't used it enough. But, you know, doing these things, and the more that you use it, the more it's going to understand what you're doing. Okay, so it gets to learn how you write individually. So you may do it one way, she may do it another way, and she may do it a completely different way. So it may have 3 different choices on it. Because maybe she does write, which I could, or which I would, whatever. You know, so that comes up as one of the choices if it's not already in her dictionary. But maybe she's used it a lot to where now one of her choices is child also. I don't know. Okay? Okay, you can do the your turn thing whenever you want, okay? I'm not gonna spend a whole lot of time on it. It's just kind of stuff that we just went over. I've told you guys, and they were kind of talking about punctuation here. But I've told you guys, you know, when you're in hyperkeys right here, and you need a comma right after before, all you do is comma, and it'll put it there. Okay? If you need a comma after and, that's not where you need to be. Okay? You need to be in front of where you need it to be, even if it's a period. Period, question mark, any of that. Okay? But you don't do the P for period and the Q, because that's going to do what?
Put it at the end of the sentence.
Put it at the end of the sentence, not where you need it right there. When you do the punctuation, the actual punctuation of the comma, the period, question mark, semicolon, colon, any of that stuff, and it already knows what to do. So look what it is right there. Okay? Look, and look what happens when I do colon. See how it does a colon, space, cap next, because it means that something's coming where they're emphasizing something where it's almost like a new sentence. Okay? So it already knows what to do. You don't have to do anything. If you do it correct, it knows what to do. Okay? So if you need it in the middle of a sentence, it has to be on the word after where you need it. But if you do the P and Q in hyperkeys, what's it going to do? It's going to put it at the end of the sentence. So be careful with that. Okay? Got it? No answer, so I assume yes.
Yes.
Okay. Do y'all have any questions about that? What I just went through was just kind of stuff that we've already kind of gone over, or it's going to go over in numbers, which is the next lesson. You in the back.
So for conflicts, when you define it in your dictionary, you put a slash first, and then the word, and another slash, then the word.
Yeah. But you have to be careful that you don't use a backspace. So there's a slash and a backspace, and you have to use one of them for it, and we'll come to that lesson in just a bit when we get to more the in-depth one of conflicts. Okay, and then we'll show you how to define it. Because if you do it wrong, it's not going to come up right, and it's not going to fix itself. Okay? Got it? Are you messing with it now?
I did one, so I hope I didn't screw it up.
If it comes up like that, that's going to be correct. So it's like, slash. I think it's a slash too. I think if it leans from right to left, it's a slash, and the other way is a back slash. So whatever. So, guys, be real careful when you're trying to do some of this stuff, and we haven't gone over it yet. If you try to define it, usually it'll come up correct. Okay? So if it brings up the box, like when you're going to global something, let me see if I can get some. So like it comes right here and it shows you it's the the slash, because there's a slash and then there's a backslash. If you use the wrong one, it's not going to work, okay? But if you're trying to create a conflict and it comes up down here, then that's going to be the correct way to do it. So if you're getting ahead and you're trying to do it, and that's okay, as long as you do it the right way.
So is it forward slash or backslash?
It's, where were you, Josh?
It's in this lesson.
So I guess it's going to be like this. It's going to be the slash. I don't know if it's backslash or forward slash or whatever, okay? You know what, let me go back. It has to be like this because this is the way that they have them. This is the way that they have them set up, so this has to be the way that it is. So it's going to be this way, not this way. It's going to be this way, not this way. So from left to right, not right to left. Does that make sense? Just do it like that, okay? Just do it like that. Gee, wow. Got it? Because if you don't define it right, it's not going to come out right. All right, any questions about that? No? Guys, super important lesson right here.
Numbers.
Numbers. You know what? All right, ready?
With Eclipse, 2 basic steps will give you excellent number translation. Fine-tune your dictionary, and fine-tune your number settings. Pure number bar strokes aren't even necessary in your dictionary. Other numbers building blocks will be defined as words, not digits. hundred, thousand, million. Describe orders of magnitude. Write the word dollars when you hear it, not before, and it, like other money words, will trigger number conversion with the appropriate currency symbol. If a number doesn't translate right, it's probably because of an old dictionary entry. Remove such entries and your building blocks will work properly. A separate...
You see what it's telling you? So like now, like back in the day, and I don't want to confuse you too much, but back in my day, we had to define it.
Back when?
Remove such entries.
When Jesus was a court reporter. That's the way we had to define it. It's crazy. Now, you don't define anything like that, okay? If you use the number bar, does everybody use the number bar? You don't?
I've read
Does
on
everybody-
said number bar. Not there yet.
Huh?
Not there yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, really.
Okay.
I just type it all out.
I'm sorry?
I take the numbers out. It's not bad.
You tape the numbers out?
Type?
I type them all out.
Oh, do you? No, I mean, no. I mean, it's gonna show you what to do if you do. So if you don't use a number bar, then it's no big deal. But if you use a number bar, then you don't have to define anything. Does that make sense? The number stands on its own. The number is gonna stand by itself. So so when you write 2 million or 23,025,003 cents, now it's reading 25,000 as 25,000. Okay? And they'll explain it in just a second.
And your building blocks will work properly. A separate presentation deals with finding and moving entries in and out of your dictionary.
It's a lot of moolah.
Occasionally, you'll want to convert numbers after translation. Mark the number first, then click on the toolbar icon, or use the menu or the speed key.
Write that down. Control-Shift-3 is a number conversion. So let's say you have 9 numbers together. And you just wrote them together. You just wrote the 9 numbers. But it was somebody's social security number. You can come in here to the number conversion and it's going to be one of your options. It has telephone numbers, zip code, money, all kinds of stuff. So pay attention.
Control and the pound key together. Here you see your...
And that brings it up. Do you want it in quantity? So now it's 36,508.3. All right, well, what do we want it as? Do you want it just as quantity? Yeah. You want it money? It can change it to that. It can change it to an ordinal, Roman numeral, generic, a phone number, social security, zip code, time, date. So, but you see these little things right here. If it doesn't have that amount of numbers, it's not going to change it to it. So it has to have that amount of numbers in order for it to change to that. Okay? What's the function to get to it?
Control-Shift-3.
Control-Shift-3. Okay?
your number as it starts out, and as it would look depending on which format you choose. However, your numbers settings will control, and so the gear icon takes you quickly to adjust those settings. Within these short presentations, it's not possible to show all that Eclipse automatic number conversion can do. So a separate in-depth ePower video tutorial is available on automatic number conversion.
Got it?
Mm-hmm.
Pretty simple stuff right there. They're going to get more in depth now.
Here are two quick examples of how to fine-tune your numbers settings. The numbers section of your user settings asks two general questions. First, how do you...
Guys, pay attention right here. Put everything down that you're doing and pay attention right here, because If you don't use numbers, it's going to tell you what to do. If you use numbers, it's going to tell you what to do. And you have to have these things in your user settings, or the way that you write is not going to come out correct. Okay? I'm going to back it up just a bit.
The numbers section of your user settings asks two general questions. First,
So how do you get to your user settings? What's that?
Alt U.
Alt U. Get in there now. Everybody in? Yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
how do you write numbers? So what do you even want number conversion to process? And second, what kinds of numbers do you want in words as opposed to digits? This first writer doesn't use the number bar and wrote the word "and" when it was heard. So ignore written numbers is not turned on, but process "and" as part of a number is turned on.
Got that? What did it just say?
If you write the word, if you write out the numbers, you want to uncheck, ignore written numbers, and you want to check
Check and
process
process
and.
If you write "and." So it all depends on how you hear it, okay? I don't hear it. When somebody says 403 and 6 cents, I don't hear "and." I hear 403, 6 cents, okay? If you hear 403 and 6 cents and you write 403 and 6, check that box. So if you use "and" in the numbers, you're gonna want that checked. If you don't use the number bar, uncheck that. Because if you check it, it's gonna do crazy things for you. So pay attention,
So
okay?
check yourself before you wreck yourself.
So check yourself before you write your numbers.
right on.
Got it?
Yes.
For general quantity numbers, this user has Eclipse write out 1 through 10, but put 11 and above in digits. For currency, do not.
You see what it's saying there? So a lot of times you need numbers. A lot of times, okay? Sometimes you don't. You know, and it just all depends. One, you never start a sentence with a number. To me, unless it's like a date or money. And they were talking about, well, how much did he spend? It was $403. You know, or what year was that? 1962. That's the only time I kind of do, you know, well, how many children did he have? 3. No. Well, it should be 3 anyway. It should be THREE anyway. Okay, it shouldn't be the number 3. Okay? But in instances where the quantities are write out value, a lot of times people have 1 through 10 because they want 1 through 10 written out. Anything over 10 is usually in letters. Okay? Does that make sense to y'all? No? Yeah? This means yes, Katie. All right, so when I ask you, don't give me the deer in the headlights look.
So
Yeah.
under numbers on my computer, it says on here, it only reads force measurements to digits. And I have that one, also force separators and currency. Those two are checked on my end.
Which one? This one and what?
And there's another one added on here, force separation and currency.
Force separation and currency?
No, it's not on there.
Force separation, force.
Force separation and currency.
And it's checked.
Go on in your version, maybe.
Yeah. I have that one too.
You do? Force separation and currency. Force measurements, force separation and currency. I don't know.
Don't give me that deer in headlights look.
Yeah. Now I'm gonna give you the deer in the headlights look. So we'll just kind of mess with this for now. Okay, and we'll figure out the other one later. I'll mess with it or whatever.
Okay.
Write out any numbers, just use digits. And for ordinals, write out 1st through 10th. There are different settings for what to write out at the start of a sentence. And as of 1 million, Eclipse will use words to make large round numbers easier to read.
On the clarify, that's kind of good, you know, to have that. I'm gonna rewind it just a little bit, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Make large round numbers easier to read. Sentence. And as of 1 million,
Because like when they say, well, how many people lived in that country that was 1 million? That's the way it should be. It's not easy to read like that. Okay, it's easier to read like that, 1 million. Okay, and that's why they put it that way, rather than the numbers. Okay, so that's why you put the million. All right.
Eclipse will use words to make large round numbers easier to read. This number bar user uses word strokes to indicate when a number from 1 to 10 should not be in digits. So ignore written numbers is turned on, and Eclipse is not being asked to write out any values.
You got that? What did it just say?
It's telling, well, I guess because of the rule of 1 to 10, it's telling you to ignore the written numbers and then spell them out.
Partially, I think. What it's telling you right there, which is what I do, because I hear it different, you know, is that when I think that it needs to be written out, I write it out on my machine. And when I think that it needs to be numbers, I write the number. So that's what it's telling you right there, how to do it. Does that make sense to you? So like if you hear it and you say, well, how many kids did he have? He had 3. I write out THRAOE, 3. I don't write the number 3 unless I'm way behind and I just need to catch up. Then maybe I slap the number on there or whatever, but for the most part I can hear it here and I react to when I know that it needs to be written out. Does that make sense? Yeah? Okay. If you write that way, this is the way that you need to have it. Checked right here, no values, write out. Okay?
Number conversion is treated at length in the efficient editing tutorial, so be sure to look at it.
Any questions? Guys, that's kind of a pretty important lesson right there, okay? Because if you don't do it correct, it's not going to come out correct.
So basically what you're saying on the ones for ignore the written numbers, if you're using big amounts like in the millions, then other than that you'll be marking this, right? You'll be marking the what is it? Ignore written numbers and no values if it's just actual numbers, but what if
No.
it's millions?
If it's ignore written numbers is when you use the number bar.
Oh, okay, that's right.
Ignore written numbers. Ignore written numbers. Okay? And then no values on the other one when you write them out. Because it's gonna, you don't want to put the 1 through 10 because then it's gonna put 1 through 10 even if you do TWO. It's still gonna put the number 2 there, even when you want TWO. Okay? Got it? Questions?
Is it safer that you don't, you said you don't use numbers, right? You write them
I
out?
do.
You do?
I use both.
Oh.
I use words and I use numbers. But, you know, I learned how to use the number bar. You done? Got it? I learned how to use the number bar. So it is what it is. Sometimes you go fast and sometimes all you have to do, guys, if you've never used it before, I mean, here's a machine right here. So when you're doing your numbers, you know, when you're doing your numbers and they say number 2 and you push this, but you accidentally hit over here, it's going to put another number. So now instead of 2, now you have 27.
That's when we slop stroke.
Because you slop stroked and drug your finger. Okay? So you have to be careful when you're using the number bar. Okay? Be careful. Now when you write them out, it's a little less likely that you're gonna mess up numbers. Because if they say it's 27, twin, I don't even know. I know that Mark Kislingberry has something where, I mean, it's a one stroke for every number under the sun. Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. Whatever. So however you do 20, the thing that I do like that he does is the years. Like he does twan for 2001, two for 2002, twee for 2003, all the way up. I mean, and it's good. It's one stroke. So like 2017, I do a TWEF, TWEF for 2017. Twait for 2018 instead of 2008 because we're already past it. But if I need 2008, then I do twag instead of twait with the T. Because the AIGT to me is the 8. So to me, when I do the twait, it's 2008. When I do 2018, now it's, I'm sorry, it's the other way around. It's easier for me to write the GT. So I do the twait as a 2018 and then twag as a 2008 because I don't hear 2008 hardly anymore. Does that make sense? So in some of his years, if you want to look that up, that might be one of the good things to look up that he does that I kind of get.
The mulberry guy, right?
Is the years. Okay? Any questions about that? Okay, now they're going to talk to you about dictionary cleanup, about going in and cleaning up your dictionary. Okay, so it doesn't matter. It matters from here on. So if you need to go into your dictionary and clean it, you can. How do you go into your dictionary? No.
D.
No, it's delete. It's F9. Have we not gone over that? Maybe we haven't. But it's here or F9. Go into F9. Okay? So F9 is going to take you right here. Is everybody here? Yeah? It says tutorial because we're in the tutorial. It should say your main. So it should say your name up there or whatever, and you just press OK. So now it goes into this. So now this is the dictionary, okay? And now it has all of your entries. So off to the side over here, it doesn't have it in here because it has, this is the tutorial. But it should have a little global magic thing over here. Does it on y'all's? Huh?
Well, I'm in a tutorial, so
Get out of the tutorial. And I'll come back to this. Okay. So when it takes you in, let me go back. So you push F9. You're right here. Is everybody right here?
Got it.
Yes? All right. Huh? You there now? Okay. Push F9. So it's going to bring you right here. This is all of my job dictionaries that I have. Maybe you don't have them. No big deal. But it should have your name right here. Does it? What does it have?
Still says tutorial. I don't know why.
Guys, get out of the tutorial.
Oh, no, like we're in that screen, but it still says tutorial.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay, get out of Eclipse altogether. And then get back in.
Mine doesn't have my name, but look at that.
Does it have tutorial?
No, I'm not into tutorial. We said to get out, right?
Get out completely.
I'm out. I'm
Then
so
get back in and bring it to the Eclipse, the gray little thing Eclipse. Okay? And that should have gotten you out of the tutorial mode. Got it?
Okay.
You got it?
It doesn't have my
Is this the correct screen I'm supposed to be in? No, gotcha. Oh, no, you don't have to move. Go continue.
Yeah. But you're a little bit ahead, but that's all right. Yeah. But that's what we need.
See, I press on F9, nothing comes up.
It doesn't? Then go into the dictionary. Go into the dictionary thing right there.
And it says, then it.
Do the FN down at the bottom
Uh-huh.
and the F9. I told you that on day one about if your F buttons don't work, now you have to do it with the FN button. Remember the function button? So if it's not working, you have to do the function button. Is it doing it now?
Don't forget the F button.
Oh, God. I brought it up, but it's still not, it just says standard dictionary at the bottom. And my name is highlighted.
That's what you want. Where's your name highlighted?
Right there.
Get out of there. Function. Do the function. That's your thanks on that. So it should bring you up here, and it's probably in yours because it's a student version. Your name is probably going to be up here. It's probably going to be the first one. Select your name. Okay? Mine is right here. It automatically comes up my main. And now press open. Now your dictionary comes up. Got it? Is everybody here? Huh?
Mine has nothing.
0?
0.
Have you put any entries in your dictionary?
Well, she's in theory, like me.
Yeah.
Oh, then you probably,
But on
you may
mine,
not.
I haven't, but I haven't. I had a dictionary loaded in here like yesterday.
What's his name, that guy?
Hopkins.
Dan?
Yeah.
Yes, he's the one that
Get
uploaded
out,
mine.
get out of there.
I had Eclipse. Get on your phones.
F9.
Click on my name or something.
That's it, right?
Yeah. Oh, I didn't use that earlier. It was funny.
Mm.
It was fun.
Pero you?
Use that stick.
Where are you going?
It works on this one, but the third time we try.
Hey, but mine didn't work until you
so I
said click
click
on your name.
So I click on mine, and then this is it.
I'm glad
This
this
is
is
some I person. I don't know where my fiction is.
So when you had your
Well, because I stroked it. It's supposed to be
But
long eye.
it wouldn't be one of the common ones that you say.
No, it wasn't coming out.
So what was the letter?
It's KH, long I, LD. So you put it in with long I, it's not, it's news.
So I guess these are not enough for the board. Because I know we had like 7,000. You got that? So that's on you.
Number 20.
Turn that off, would